How's it going, everyone? Yeah, so I don't really have much planned for today. Probably just try to add some more features to this application I've kind of been working on. I don't know where I left off. I haven't worked on this thing in a while, so we'll have to kind of see where we're at. I think I have like a dashboard page we can go to. Cool. Okay, I think the last thing we worked on was the ability to add courses or something. No image is showing up, so I think I need to also run like a Docker file. Let's look here. Ah, there we go. I'm currently using NextAuth for this project. I might actually try to do some code improvements. Like I have this S3 file that's used for hosting my S3 application, but I would like it to be in a Docker file. So let's see if we can kind of get this going. Also, I think I'm using Postgres and I'd rather use like, I'm sorry, I think I'm using SQLite for Prisma. And I kind of would rather have this set up to use something like MySQL or Postgres. So there's a couple things we can try doing. We could try doing the Postgres switch right now and see if we can make some progress on that. I'll just make like a little to-do list application, set up Docker file to support Postgres, Dockerize the S3 service. No, I don't use Google API key. I don't even know what that is. So let's go here. I already have like a MySQL image here, but if you plan to use Planet Scale, like you want to keep this as MySQL. If you plan to use Postgres, you want to use Postgres. I'm sorry, if you plan to use like something else, probably better to have Postgres. So let's go to like my online course. What is it called? Con generator course. Yeah, let's just grab some of this. So, oh wait, not that. I don't have like a Postgres database, do I? Pretty sure I have a project that uses Postgres already. Trying to remember which project though. Anyway, I guess I could just go to Postgres Docker. See if this works, I guess. And put that in there. Oh, it's already there. Man, I'm still waking up, I guess. Okay, so we have an example here, so let's go ahead and see if we can like just run this. And I think also what we want to do is grab the schema here. We'll go to the schema, and we want to use the Postgres schema. And we probably also want to update our .env file. I don't know if I have anything here that's like secret. So let me open up a terminal real quick. I'm just working on a little side project where you could potentially post courses and sell them. Zombie, I am using Mac. What's this project called? Online course platform. Just want to open up the .env file. I'm doing this on another monitor so you guys can't see, but I think we just want to change the database URL. Point to Postgres probably. So let's go and look at the documentation for Prisma. And this is their example of Postgres. So let's just grab this. And I'm going to put that here. And when I say here, I mean in another screen that you can't see. So in this Docker file, what is the actual database name? Like we have the password. But what is the root user and what is the database name? So this optional environment variable is used in conjunction with Postgres password to set a user in this password. I mean, let's just not use defaults. It'd probably be easier if I just did this. All right, so let's try this out. I'm going to do a Docker compose up. That should spin up a Postgres database. It says it's running. So let's also open up a new terminal, and we will say npx prisma vpush. And that should connect to my locally running Postgres database and set up the schema there if it's set up correctly. Provided database credentials for user is not valid. Oh, let me update something. Yeah, I mean, I typically, if I'm going to deploy at the planet scale, you have to use Postgres. I mean, you have to use MySQL. Otherwise, if you're deploying to like, what's it called? Firebase? I think it's called Firebase. Or the other one that's like free that I can never remember the name of. You could use Postgres. Do you ever use anything other than TypeScript? No, I kind of been strictly using TypeScript these days. All right. Yeah, Railway is good too. I think Railway has Postgres support. How's it going, Voided? That will not work, I believe. They are the first time setups. You should tear down the DB again, change the user database, or use the value you set up with. Yeah, so in my .env file, I have the db user as user. The password is example localhost 5432/db. So I feel like this is all set up correctly, maybe. What's up, Brandon? Maybe I could just use the defaults. The default Postgres user in the database are created in this entry point with initdb. Yeah, no worry. No worries. You don't have to stick around forever. But good luck on whatever you're working on. Man. Probably spend this whole stream just messing around with Docker, but whatever. That's cool. Port 5432. My .env file is set up to port 5432. It doesn't, the problem with these docs is it doesn't tell you what like the default user is, does it? Postgres. Okay, it's right there. So Postgres, the default password is whatever I put. So I put example, I believe. Localhost DB is Postgres. Yeah, I could probably install some type of extension here real quick, like a Postgres extension so you can connect to something. Give that a shot, I guess. But how do you use it? Yeah, it looks like it sets up something over here. Just add something new. So localhost. Default user, Postgres. Password, I believe I use as example. Port should be the default. Database to connect to Postgres SQL. Maybe that's the issue. I probably have that wrong by one S. I think it just needs to be Postgres, right? Nope, that still fails. All right, that doesn't work. The default Postgres user and database are created in the entry point with initdb. You know, I could just use this. This comes with like a tool for visualizing, I believe, called Adminer. Never used that before. So let's just try using that. I'm gonna go ahead and do a down and then do an up again. This looks rough. Can't tell if this worked. I mean, it looked like it logged me in. Username is Postgres. DB is Postgres. Passwords is example. Localhost 543. Try destroying the container. Yeah, I'll try that. I'm not sure. I mean, this thing looks like I connected with the right credentials, so it's almost like when I run my Prisma thing, it's not using the right you know, I'm gonna share my .env. I don't think there's anything here that's too sensitive other than Postgres SQL, Postgres example, localhost 5432 Postgres. Anyway, let's go to the Docker file. Is there like a destroy or remove all? Remove stop services. Docker compose rm. Okay, I'm just going to delete all this stuff. There. All right, so I manually deleted the containers. Spin it back up. Okay, try running Prisma again. You know, sometimes I hate coding. Like you waste all your time just trying to set a configuration up. Okay, so it's weird that like, okay, if I go here, localhost, Postgres, example, default port. I don't know if it needs to be a secure or standard. I guess it's standard because it's local. Optional, the database to connect to, Postgres. That doesn't work. So I can't connect with Prisma. I can't connect with this Postgres Explorer, but this, whatever this thing is here, this seems to work okay. I don't know what this server thing is. Is that the Docker Compose? Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I need to set up a network for here, which I don't remember the syntax for. Which, I mean, I have other projects where I did this. Need to map port 5. Oh, is that really what's going on? Port is already allocated. What's up, Donnie? Okay, that was it. Thank you for that suggestion. I just forgot that I didn't have my ports set up, so it didn't know how to get to the container. Don't you love bugs like that? No, I don't have Postgres installed on my machine. I try not to install those things on my machine because like it's just a nightmare trying to like keep them updated, and I've wasted so many hours before just trying to set up MySQL and Postgres, and you run into strange little issues. So I'd rather just containerize everything. Yeah, I think you're onto something, Voided. I think because adminer, I'm putting DB here. I named this DB, so I was able to access that service directly. So I think you're right about that. Have I done much work with DynamoDB? Yeah, we actually use DynamoDB at work. I've been using it for like 4.5 years now, so I have some experience with it. Still don't feel like I'm an expert at it, but I'm able to hack at it. What is the extension which highlights to-dos? I just have like a to-do extension, I believe. Let me make sure this one works too. Localhost, Postgres, sample. Okay, that works now. Cool. And we should have all of our tables. Yep. All right, so that was one of the to-do things, which I just wasted, what was that, 22 minutes on? So we got that working. Got Postgres in a little local file. I also wanted to Dockerize my S3 service. So like, I have a script which I'm using to run S3, but I would like to have this like run automatically when I start up my container, like when I do my Docker compose. So I have to remember how to do that. I think you just do S3 container name, say S3. I think by default it'll already like name it based on whatever this is. But let's not forget to add ports. So I'm going to go ahead and add, I think this is port 5000 for some reason. And I'm putting quotes around these things that probably don't need quotes. Ports, and then I want to run. I think I could just say command, and then I could just say node s3.js. Hopefully. Let's stop this, run this. I need to put like a build so it knows what directory to load files from. Copy cores, the cores JSON, failed to solve, failed to compute cache key cores not found. Okay. By the way, has my stream been lagging at all? I switched my encoder on OBS and I don't think it's been lagging at all yet, which is good. Should probably knock on wood before it starts lagging. Yeah, I know it's called cores JSON, but I figured I'd just copy the entire directory over. Maybe this is not a good idea. I mean, I guess I could just copy over the single cores file for now, but I do plan to using this like container for other things in the future. But I'll just copy the cores. Looks like there's an error. Oh, I probably need to copy over the S3 file, don't I? Okay, let's do that. I think there's a shorter syntax for this too, right? Like I think I could just I could probably just do like a dot, right? Like, can I just put the name of the file and not have to put the destination? A simple dot for the destination, right? Because this will just tell it to use like the root directory of the container. I mean, let's just try it out. Module not found. So I'm guessing, yeah, so in order to run this script, I have to run npm install in the container. So I might need to just do a volume mount. That might be easier. And not even have to do the copy stuff. And like you said, yeah, if the container is using like Ubuntu or whatever, I guess I'm using, what am I using? Node 18, whatever this is. Maybe this is Debian or something. This will have different binaries than my local node modules. So you'll run into a bunch of issues if you try to like share node modules, which really sucks. But I'm going to try doing a volume mount here instead. So I don't have to like run an npm install inside the container. And like that usually eats up a lot of time. But I think what I could do is mount this entire directory to, what's my workspace? Home.dir, home app. Let's give that a shot and see if it can find the file now. And I don't think I have to kill the entire Docker compose when I just want to refresh something, do I? I think I can just say like Docker up and then put the name of the thing, right? It looks like this worked. Best way is to have a separate Docker file in the S3 directory just for that project and link it to the compose. Yeah, that's actually probably a better idea. So you're saying putting this S3 file inside of this directory? Oops. Yeah, we could try doing that. And then I could just put the Docker file, a bare minimum Docker file that doesn't need all this other stuff inside of that too. And then the compose can just use that. I'm cool for experimenting, whatever. So the build context should be the S3 directory. And let me know if I do anything wrong here. This should run this file that's here. The Docker file that's here should, I don't need the AWS CLI stuff, so I can delete that. And probably just copy everything over. And then I could run npm install. Let's see what the command is for this. Docker compose up isn't like S3 or something. Yeah, okay. Okay, now find module this. Probably need to give it an image. Well. Valid format. I don't have a Docker ignore anywhere here. Yeah, let me refresh my memory how you do this. Like Docker compose point to subdirectory, which has own Docker file. Build context Docker file. Let me try that. Well, that's not working. I'm gonna try to delete this just in case. I've had issues with like stuff not clearing out when Feliciano? What time is it? Where's my package? You're so smart. That's probably what it is. It's actually better, or am I just making stuff more complex doing this? You know what? I might just go back to what it was. Like, I'm sure I could figure it out. I'm okay with it just being in the root directory for right now. Personally. Okay. I mean, this works. It's not, maybe it's not the best, but it works. And let's rerun my dev server, which I believe is, so first of all, I can kill, which one was this one? Yeah, I don't need this one. This is S3. This is my client, so I'll rename this to client. This is my compose. Yeah, I'm not going to even run this on prod. Like, I'm not going to run this Docker compose on prod anyway. This is just for local development to make stuff a little bit easier. Because when I jump around from project to project, I don't want to have to like figure out what's being ran and stuff. Let's refresh this. So, I mean, I don't know why there's stuff loading up here. There should be no courses in that database because this should be connecting to a completely different database that had no data in it. Because before I was using SQLite. I'm kind of confused why it's like getting data. So let's delete the SQLite database and just like refresh this real quick. Man, it's a mess right now. Are you using the M1 MacBook Air 8GB? No, I had the 16GB. All right, thanks for joining, Voided. Thanks for the suggestions on the Docker stuff. Technically, I don't need this Postgres thing because I like using Prisma Studio, which I could also add here, like instead of adminer, which I guess I could keep around just in case. I might just add Prisma Studio, and that will be the same build context. Command will be npx Prisma Studio. I forget what port that runs on. 8001 maybe? Oh, it's 5555. Might need the volume out that too. But Prisma uses binary, so I don't know if that'll even work, unfortunately. Not find the schema. Well, actually, I'm using npx, so it should download the binaries, and then it should kind of set that up. But I can't find the schema, probably because I got rid of that copy. So I'll copy everything, and I do want to git ignore the Docker. Git ignore. Oh, I already have. Oh, sorry, Docker ignore. Docker ignore node modules. What's up, Kartik? Nayak? Leguiz says, is software design is important in creating real projects? I mean, the design part's important, especially if you're working with a lot of people in a team and you have to like convey that design to other people to make sure you're all on the same page. But if you're just like starting off, I would say just building stuff is important, is a little bit more important, because you're not going to understand like what the boxes and arrows mean until you actually get your hands dirty building out the implementations. Not find schema file. Why is this still complaining? Gotta be careful before I run out of disk space. That's the problem with Docker, is that it just eats up all your disk space. I want to learn Python language. Which is the best? What's your question? Not find a schema. Okay, why can't I find a schema? I'm just making an online course platform, so like I could upload my courses and use Stripe to have people buy those courses and watch them. Right now, I'm just playing around with Docker, trying to Dockerize a lot of the services I need to get this thing running locally, just to make it a little bit easier. Yeah, I'm using the 16 gigabytes computer. I wonder if Docker ignore affects the volume mounting too. I have this working on another project, I think. If I go to my icon generator and go to the Docker Compose, I'm pretty sure I have this already. Depends on db command npx prisma studio volume. I mean, I probably should put the environment here so that it knows like where it needs to connect to. And I could probably have this not, like I could probably source this from the .env somehow. But it's failing to find the schema, which I'm not sure why. Because after I copy everything, the schema should be here in Prisma schema. Okay, I got 408 megabytes left, so I need to like clear out some stuff before my computer runs out of memory. Maybe because you copied before the work_dir definition. Ah, good job. That is probably why that's causing issues. Why I use Docker but can't use command npx prisma db push. I mean, what's it failing on? Like, why isn't it letting you do that? It could be a lot of reasons. It could be that you don't have the node module set up. It could be that your environment variable isn't pointing to the right database. I add the king ape emoji back to your Discord. I think the issue with my Discord is that you only get like 50 emojis or something. So if you guys want to boost my Discord channel, I think it's like $9 or something. That'll unlock emojis for like a whole month. I'm personally not going to spend $10 to boost my own channel, so. But if you guys want to donate, I mean, I won't complain. There might be a way for me to like, hopefully there's nothing special here. Server settings. I think I can go here and I can go to my emojis. Is there no way to like move this down? Use your server to level 1 to unlock more emoji slots. I could delete the emojis of like people. I don't think anyone ever uses these. I know this isn't related to let's see. I don't know why I have two of those. Let me delete one. You really can't like move emojis around on this. Like, I just want this one to be at the bottom. This is when you need UX, right? You need to like spend some time doing some UX so I can order these. Because now I have to delete all these extra things. Like, I guess we don't need Obama. These two we don't really need. Why is King X still? Okay, let's delete that one. There we go. We got access to it now. Let's see. That was all for you. Okay. Transferring context of 321 megabytes. What the heck is 320 megabytes in this entire, this next folder? Like that seems like a lot of context, right? Well, thanks for watching me play with Docker this whole stream. Hope you guys are having some fun. This 29 megabytes available. Probably not a good thing, right? This is the one thing I do not like about Docker is that it ends up just using all the disk space of your computer. And then when you try to clean it up, you can't clean it up because you have to have disk space to clean up Docker for some reason. So it's kind of a hot mess. And the only solution I've ever found to clean this up is to find the cow file, which I don't even remember where that is. No space left on device. Always use the port container GUI to clean up unused volumes and images. What is portainer? Probably can't install it right now since I only have like 30 megabytes free. Does anyone know where the cow file is? Like Mac default cow Docker file location. This thing is like always ends up eating up Docker raw. Is that what it's called? How do I open that in Vim? Let's see how big this file is. How do you even Bro. 33 gigabytes. I'm gonna delete that. And that should clean up some of my disk space, I think. I have a question. I write my endpoints in Express. I test them with Postman manually. I write tests, then I refactor. I update the documentation. Is this the right way? Yeah, I mean, I don't see an issue with that. There's no right way in software. Just do it. Just do whatever works. One approach will work for one person. One approach won't work for that person. Like, some people love TDD. Some people hate TDD. Just do whatever works for you that makes you the most productive. And if someone's trying to like tell you to do something a different way, like as long as your stuff's tested, like if you're on a team that requires testing, like as long as your stuff is tested, like that's all that really matters. Bro, why is this not? I just deleted a file, but it's like not. Sucks. Is there something I need to run to like tell Mac to like refresh its file system? Because I just deleted a 33 gigabyte file and it still says I have 28 megabytes left. So I'm not really sure what to do at this point. Updating the color of the nav bar? Are you talking about from my other site? I fixed that issue, I think. Check the space in a new terminal. Nope, still 28 megabytes. And even when I load a terminal, it like... Some processes can remain unclosed. I mean, like Docker is probably still doing something. I'm killing all these Docker things. I don't care if it crashes my computer. There we go, fatal error. There we go, 33 gigs free now. Thank you. The one thing I hate about Docker, if you don't have like a billion gigabytes of disk space, it just like deletes everything. I always forget this location, so I'm just gonna put this here. Thanks for the follow, unemployed dev. Hope you find a job soon. Bro. Okay, now I killed Docker, so I gotta go restart Docker. Trust me, y'all, this is worth it, okay? It seems like I'm just wasting a bunch of time with Docker, but when you have this all perfectly set up and you have to switch between like this project and your icon generator project and your newsletter project, and you have all these different projects that need different dependencies, it's so much easier if they're all running locally. Because I can just CD into the project, Docker compose up, and I can just start coding. I don't have to worry about like, oh, am I using Postgres? Am I using MySQL, it just all works. Um, so that's why I'm wasting all my time for the past hour setting up Docker Compose files so I can get all this stuff just running locally with one command. But it is a lot of overhead and like a lot of pain to get it all set up, as you can see. For those saying it's in the trash, I did an RM, right? So from the terminal, I deleted this file, which I think bypasses the trash. Like that'll just take it straight to removing it from disk. I think the Docker process had a lock on it, so the Mac OS couldn't actually clean it up. So I had to go and kill the Docker process. Where do you host your Docker files? I don't host containerized things. Like you could get a VM and you can clone your repo and you can run Docker Compose on your VM. I like doing stuff with just like serverless and next deployments. So depending on what I'm trying to deploy, more than likely I'm going to deploy it to AWS Lambda or find a way to like wrap it to work in Lambda. It's still not working. Okay, why is this not working? The following package was not found. It will be installed. Okay, it's working now. It just took a while. Let's see if this connects. Non-recoverable errors occur. Reload Studio. Okay, another bug after bug. Why is this one not working? Unable to init persist store undefined. Right on. So the Prisma Studio, for some reason, when I set up the Docker file, I copy the files over. Yeah, I do what's it called? Stream multicast or something. So I have Twitch going and I also have YouTube going. There's only like 3 people on Twitch right now, but you're welcome to go watch on there if you want. Every file in the API directory is deployed to a Lambda, like even if I only have next auth. I mean, it totally depends on the thing that you're using to deploy your app, right? So for example, if you're using Next.js and you try to deploy an Amplify, I believe they take, I think they probably behind the scenes containerize everything. And then so it just acts like Next is running on the container. And they probably just set up routes from Cloud Front to different endpoints of your container to kind of change how the caching works. But yeah, I think every API endpoint would probably be put onto a single Lambda. I don't think they have a separate Lambda for every API endpoint, from what I've seen. If you deploy with SST, again, I think they just give you a single Lambda which runs all of your API code. So every time you hit a new route in your API, it just goes to the same Lambda, runs some code, gives back a response. Okay, let's just get out of Docker for a second. Thanks for the follow, Jason AJ or AJA. I don't know what that was. It went away. Progress plane. trying to figure out, like, does it have access to the proper files here? So I do an ls. I see it has prisma, which means the schema would be in there. So I think it's good. It has the package JSON. So I think those are all fine. Question is why isn't the Prisma Studio not able to connect to... Actually, I think I know the answer to that. I think instead of localhost here, I should put DB, because that won't have access to localhost. Give it a second to boot up. I usually uninstall Docker and reinstall. Yeah, I mean, I think there's easier ways to do that. I think the best way I've seen is like if your Docker file fills up and like you run out of disk space and the Docker daemon no longer works, like I would just go delete that Docker raw file. It'll just get recreated and you just have to basically re-download and re-clone all your images. Is Prisma like Flyway or Liquid Base? I don't know. I haven't used either of those. Prisma is an ORM. Base. Is Liquid Base an ORM? Or I guess I should say Liqui Base. From their landing page, I do not understand what the heck this is. But they do like giving you pop-ups everywhere. Actual database changes. Yeah, this landing page, no offense, but like I don't know what this does from just looking at these things. But yeah, I'm guessing it's probably kind of similar to Prisma, where you have like auto generates your migration scripts, maybe. Ew, what's all this XML stuff? A simple man. I have one laptop for one project. Sometimes I wish I did have different laptops for like, for example, like when I'm making shorts, because to make YouTube shorts, I have to like go into OBS and change settings and like change the output resolution and change my positioning of everything. It'd be nice if there's like just a laptop, I open it up, record my shorts. Don't have to do all the extra stuff. But I'm just complaining. In your country, what a full stack dev should know to land his first job or paid training? Yeah, I don't know. There's people who land jobs who barely know anything. There's people who land jobs who like know a ton of stuff. It's just a matter of who you know and how lucky you are and how you present yourself in the interview process, I think. So it's hard to say like what should you know before you start trying to get a job, because it really depends on, it's really situational, I think. The more you know, the more luck you'll have though. Remove localhost from Prisma URL replace it with DB. Yeah. I think Prisma engine, which is written in Rust, a waste of everyone's time, or is it useful? I think it might be a little overkill, honestly. Like, I don't know what the performance benefits are for them interacting with some like lower level Rust thing. Thank you for the follow. I do plan to check out Drizzle ORM soon. I just haven't gotten around to it. I also don't know if Drizzle's even in production, like ready yet, if it's version 1. But it'd be nice if I didn't have to learn yet another DSL to interact with the database, right? Like this is another DSL that you have to learn, although it's not hard to write. It's just more overhead, right? And then I've ran into so many issues with like the Prisma binary is not working when you deploy it to serverless. It's kind of a pain. So Drizzle is written in all TypeScript. I don't know if Drizzle has like the auto migration stuff. Like, you know how in Prisma you could say DB push? Like if Drizzle has that, which I don't know if it does, I haven't looked into it, then I personally would probably choose Drizzle over Prisma. Just because having that extra binary is just, I don't know. I feel like this ORM was specifically meant for having a server that runs on a container or like a VM. The whole Rust binary stuff. I don't think they thought about serverless when they built this. But I could be wrong. Bro, why is this still not working? Postgres, example DB, Postgres URL. MPX Prisma push. Ansi says, I've been following you for a long time, and to be honest, you are the one of the realest web dev YouTubers. I feel like others just does what the audience wants to see. Yeah, I just like coding, to be honest. So I just record myself coding and talking about it. And I'm just humble about, like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing a lot of the times. And I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing a lot of the times, but they can figure it out. I'm glad you've learned something from watching me. Can't wait for someone to make a tutorial on Drizzle ORM. Yeah, maybe I'll make one soon. Seeing that you do a lot of serverless, did you never run into Prisma taking up too much space? I don't think I've seen that yet. I'm not saying it's not possible, but the limit isn't 50 megabytes. The limit's 250 megabytes for Lambda. It's a 50 megabyte limit if you're using the CLI to basically take a zip and upload it directly to Lambda. It's a 250 megabyte limit if you upload your zip to S3 and tell Lambda to read from S3. For every project I've worked on, I always just upload directly to S3, and that holds all of my Lambda zip files. I don't usually, yeah, I think I've covered that. What is the Node.js next version of PHP Artisan? I have no idea. Sorry for not asking properly. I mean, say if I am using MySQL as my DB, I want to connect to Next.js app to my DB. I don't really know what you're asking. I don't use PHP, so if your question is related to PHP, I can't help you. Yeah, Unemployed Dev says Prisma removed the GraphQL stuff, so it should make the cold starts faster. Right. I don't understand what the point of the Rust stuff was, you know? I mean, maybe I'm not smart enough to really understand that stuff, but most of the time, I would think that most of the time spent is actually waiting for the database to send the data back. Like, you do a query, the database has to do the internal logic to get that data, then it has to send it back over the wire. That's probably where most of the time is spent when you connect to a database and do queries, right? So what does having a Rust binary help with? Other than maybe aggregating the data together, like maybe they do a lot of joins inside the JavaScript code and they pass that down to Rust to kind of aggregate. But I'd be curious to know, like, what is the actual percentage of like performance increase that they gained with having the Rust binary versus just using JavaScript directly. Force your load to clear temporary data and reopen Studio. Yeah, so for a bug like this, I would probably not ask ChatGPT because it's trained on such old data that it'd probably give me bad results. So let's debug this. I'm trying to get Prisma Studio from working in a container. If I run the same command locally, it also doesn't work. Okay, so it's not a Docker related issue. This seems like it's more of a something is wrong with Prisma Studio maybe? Makes me think maybe the database is just not fully working. Maybe I shouldn't have deleted this thing. Actually, how do you do a query? New query. Select star from course. How do you run this query though? Relation course does not exist. You have to do like public or something? As you can tell, I don't do raw queries that often. Write me a Postgres query which selects all from a table named course. Yeah, I mean, that should be it. Select start from course. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to try to delete. I want to delete the image. I wonder if there's maybe an error going on here. DB1. Why is it called DB1? That could be the issue. Okay. MPX Prisma DB push. Run this. Seems like it's fine. Do you think I'm gonna try modifying this to db-1 because when I looked at Docker, okay, another thing that's really annoying me about Docker desktop is that like this thing keeps floating on top of my VS Code. Like I do not want that to happen. How do I turn that off? That is super annoying. Docker desktop prevent loading on top of other windows. No, it's not auto start. Okay, let me just do this. This is an interesting observation. Prisma doesn't even use SQL joins and pulls all the records and joins them in Rust. If our DB charges us on read, that's costly. I sometimes feel like a lot of these services collaborate with other services to kind of drive up costs. Like PlanetScale is a database that charges off of database reads. And Prisma, I think, kind of recommends using PlanetScale. So I think there's like some collaboration going on where the tooling, I don't know if it's unintentional or intentionally, does things that the deployed service they recommend is going to cost a lot more money. I mean, I think they don't do the joins because, like, I guess they're just trying to like allow the database to scale and not like slow it down. But I would probably bet that there's some collaboration going on. Okay. So the thing I changed here was I pointed it to db-1 to see if that'll work. That doesn't work. Let's just go to adminer. Postgres. Oh. No password supplied. Okay, so I mean, adminer works fine. I can go in here. This is the worst UI I've ever seen. What is this? This UI looks like it's built from like a PHP developer from 1990 and is using tables for their layouts. Okay, so anyway, what this shows is that we can connect to the database fine. One thing I should probably just check is like, can I run the service? Can that connect to my database? So if I go to here, and go to courses and like log in. Oh wait, it's not courses, dashboard. I mean, that seemed like it worked, right? Create a course, testing, hello, manage this, upload an image here. Failed to fetch. Okay, so that's like a different error. But someone's asking what is the detail of the error? The detail of the error is when I load up Prisma Studio, it just says unable to init persistent store undefined. Not sure what that means. But for some reason, this thing is unable to connect to the locally running Postgres database. Sounds like Docker doesn't have file permissions. Shouldn't the database container have like a volume mount? Let me just see if there's an example Postgres Docker compose file. Volumes, Postgres data. Let me see if this does anything differently. Wait, why is it PG admin? Wrong one. Additional property Postgres is not allowed. Okay. That needs to be unindented one. All right, someone says try to run in a incognito window. I could try that. Link from Docker with regards to volumes. Hey, it worked in an incognito window. Thank you for that suggestion. But why would this not? This thing using some type of like local storage to track? Has a ton of cookies. All right, so I mean, if I open this up in a new incognito window, works perfectly fine. In fact, if I were to go and like log in to my app here, let me just refresh the page. I have to clear some cookies for this to work. All right, I logged in. That should have created my user. Go over to Prisma Studio in this incognito. We have an account, a user, and a session. So that's all working. But the weird thing is this just doesn't work in my browser. Empty cache and hard reload. I don't know where it's caching stuff, but bro, what is going on? Why would this not work? This index DB on the GitHub issue? Yeah, I mean, my index DB is empty though. I mean, I'll clear everything out. It's one of those times where if I, in my head, I'm saying some words that I can't say on stream. I probably could say on stream. I just choose not to. All right, so we got some smart people in the stream. What is the issue? This thing works perfectly fine in an incognito tab. This thing does not work if I empty cache and hard reload. It does not work if I go and manually clear everything here. I could try a different browser. A new tab might be a good idea too. Probably reloading the same tab is not a good idea. Nope. New tab does not fix it. I'm going to try deleting. Let's just close the entire window. Let's just start fresh. Close out of Chrome. Probably shouldn't have done that because now I just lost all my live chat. This works. So I literally had to close out of Chrome. The hell? Let me get my chat windows back up. I don't think people on Twitch were really talking, but I'll load it back up anyway. Well, that was fun. I'm not sure how much time was wasted because I just needed to close out of Chrome. Cool. So how's it going, y'all? What y'all working on these days? Yeah, I hate when issues like that happen. It's like you waste 30 minutes of your life because I don't know. Yes, there's something that the Prisma Studio is using in Chrome that is caching information on the entire session of like your Chrome browser, not like that wasn't session storage, because session storage means if you close the tab, it clears that out. It wasn't local storage because I cleared that out manually. Empty the cache and hard reload was not fixing it. So it's like, what is it in Chrome you can have that persists even if you clear the cache? And I thought it was just local storage and probably IndexedDB. Maybe I needed to like go here and delete database. Maybe that was the issue. That's probably it. All right. So at this point, I've lost my concentration. I don't even know what I'm working on. I've added like no new features to my app, but I think we have it. So like now, if I were to close my Docker Compose and load it back up, like it would be in the exact same state as it was before. Let's just try to make a real quick course here. Testing, whatever. Oh yeah, it was failing at uploading images, so maybe we could try to fix that. This is doing a post request to localhost 5000. This is running on localhost 5000. That's not even hosted. The question is why is that not running? Replace cores config for bucket webdev online course platform. I think in this scenario, my UI is client-side rendered. I don't really do much server-side rendering. I probably should. I do server-side rendering if I need like metadata for the head stuff. Which I guess at some point you might need. Why is this not working? I think I have some questions over here. What are my opinions on CDK versus SSD? I mean, SSD built on top of CDK. And at work, I use Terraform, so it's hard for me to really say, like, I don't really have strong opinions on them yet because I haven't really built much with them. But a lot of people I know, I shouldn't say I know, a lot of people I've read online like CDK. But I mean, SST, like I said, is just an abstraction on top of CDK, and you can always jump down to the CDK level if you need to like provision stuff manually. ST just provides like a bunch of constructs that under the hood probably just use a bunch of CDK resources. So I think it's hard to compare one against each other. It's like one just builds on top of the other, I think. Dude, I had a similar issue earlier, bloody error, just to figure out it was something minuscule. Yeah, it's always something minuscule when you're like debugging these things. I'd say like 90% of the time, all bugs are just caused by like one little line configuration issues. Yeah, I think when server actions are like production ready, I'll probably switch over to them. So that's what, 6 months or a year from now? I mean, if I really wanted to use them right now, I would probably just switch over to Remix. Remix has these things like out of the box. But at some point, I think TRPC is not going to be as necessary because you're going to have that type safety out of the box with the server actions and server components. But someone just posted me a Reddit post of like all the issues they've had with the app directory in Next. There's like a list of like 10 or 11 different issues. And I'm like, I kind of would rather wait until people aren't complaining about the app directory. I just don't like picking up new technology that has bugs. Like I'd rather you all figure out those bugs, and then I'll have tons of blog posts I can read when you guys solve those bugs. I used to code in PHP a lot, like when I first started. I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty cool to like use and deploy. I just been using JavaScript and Node ever since that time. How did you set up S3 for file and image saving? Gonna tackle this later today. Yeah, so I have a locally running script here, which uses this library called S3 server. It's like server with a 3. It basically spins up a mock S3 service locally, and you can write stuff to it and read stuff to it. Now, granted, it's not working right now, so I'm not sure why it's not working. It was working at one point. I think it's because I'm running in a Docker container, and to figure out why this is having some issues here. Port 5000, so I mean it should be set up with the port. I haven't built an e-commerce store before. Yeah, let me find that Reddit link. So I think there's another YouTuber who kind of has been playing around with the app router, and this is his takeaway. At the end, he says, "Overall, I regret migrating my project to the app directory because now a lot of things are not working properly anymore." But it's just a rant, and so whenever you migrate something over to a new version of stuff, like stuff's gonna break. It just sucks having to debug that stuff. It's just not fun. You rather have like an app that works than have to spend days fixing a broken app. Yeah, I think Pages works fine too. I mean, the Next community has even said that they're gonna keep support for Next. I think. I mean, keep support for the Pages directory. At least I would hope they would. But I do think they have like this really startup vibe to them, where they'd probably just drop support for it out of the blue, and screw everyone over. Like they give me that vibe. I don't know if it's true, but that's the vibe they give off. I mean, the one I'm working on right now is open source. Will I actually finish this? I doubt it. But I mean, all the code is on GitHub. All right, so recap. What are we working on? We are trying to upload a file from the UI to S3. For whatever reason, my localhost 5000 is just not working. It should be running in my Docker container, but it like doesn't seem like it's working. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to see if I just run this file directly. Does this work? And it does, okay? So the issue is inside the Docker container. I think I can just run a single thing. Let's just run the S3 one. Place course config. Yeah, so now that doesn't work. I just do this. Yeah, I mean, well, port 5000 is exposed right here. Try adding expose 5000 in Docker Compose. It'll work incognito. I swear if it does, I'll be pissed. Yeah, this one's just not working. I'll try a different port. Maybe it is a different, like maybe there's a service already running on that port. Oh wait, that doesn't help. I need to go here. I need to change that to 5100. Probably doesn't help that I'm doing a volumes here. Inside I have a... Okay. Page is not working, empty response. So weird. I don't know. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I'm back. Okay, someone says expose is another prop. Where's your POV? I'm not sure what that means. Access Docker container internally and ping the port. Verify it working internally. Why is in errors in those imports? All right, let me add the expose. I'm gonna go back to 5000 because that's like what I have all my code hard coded to use. So I'll do that. Here I'll do expose 5000. Yes, I'm not sure why you'd have to do that. Are you sure expose? I know expose is something you can put inside the Docker file, but No, I haven't tried the T3 repo that has Expo. I might try it at some point. I wanted to kind of get into mobile development at some point, but why is an error in those imports in it? Require state. I mean, these are just ESLint errors. I think it like my ESLint is set up for TypeScript and it's confused about me using require for some reason. But I don't think those are really real errors. I forget how to actually connect to this. How to run bash inside a Docker container. Yeah, that's not running. Docker exe container name sh. I think this also works, right? I mean, it's just not running. Modify module server. So I mean, there's no node modules. That's part of the issue. It's weird how this will print an error here, but it doesn't show up in the Docker compose. And this also doesn't make sense because I'm doing a volume mount. So the node module should exist in the Docker file. Oh, it's because okay, I'm sorry. It's because I ran this without the volume mount. How do you do a volume mount again? Isn't it like... Oh, I'm an idiot. I have the Docker. The Docker will ignore for volume mounts too, right? So I had the node modules inside the Docker ignore. But I thought that was only for when you do a build or a copy. I thought for the volumes, it wouldn't ignore that. Let's see. Does Docker ignore also apply to volume mounts. I mean, adding this will prevent it from copying the node modules, I think. All right, let's just try this out. I don't really know. Let's just go ahead and get rid of this. Thank you for the follow, Mr. Software. Why is it not copying over the node modules? I feel like I'm going crazy here. Like, hear me out. I'm saying run this container. Maybe it's not actually, let me do this. Remove orphans. And course platform. So many different things running. Can you give a high-level overview of containers, VM, Dockers, Kubernetes for a junior developer? They sound much complicated, and I fail to get the idea of these technologies. I think the main reason for these technologies is you have a container that has everything that you need to run your application in production. And no matter where you run this thing, if you run it on Mac OS, you run it on Windows, you run it on Ubuntu, Debian, it's containerized, so everything that's in the container will work. For the most part, like 95% of the time, will work just wherever you run it. So the benefit of that is if you're running something on your local laptop, you have like 99% confidence that when you run that container in production, it'll also just work exactly the way you need it to. That's the idea. And it really helps with like maintainability because you can just like check out older versions of your container and run them. And you know that it's going to have like all the code that was locked at that version. It has all the dependencies that were needed. A lot of times when you run software, you have to have binaries. So that's like additional operating system level files that are needed. For example, I'm using Prisma. You need binaries to connect to Rust, which will connect to your database. Sometimes when you just deploy code changes, everything will work locally. It'll work in CI/CD. When it hits production, it just starts failing because there's like discrepancies between your dependencies and your code. So a container allows it all to basically be a snapshot frozen in time, and you know it's going to work no matter when you run it. That's the idea. And then Kubernetes is like an abstraction on top of running all these things. Like it has built-in load balancers, it has built-in scaling. I don't really use Kubernetes that much, so I can't really talk too much about it. But you basically just like define a bunch of like pods and containers and whatever, and you just take your configuration file and you give it to a Kubernetes host. For example, I think DigitalOcean has a way to host Kubernetes files, and it looks at your YAML or your XML or whatever, and it figures out what to run, how many of those things to run, and it just kind of does it all for you. Like a container orchestration tool, maybe? Is that what you call it? Kind of frustrating why this is so hard to get working though. I don't think I need the expose. Hmm. There is a node modules directory there. So it's getting the node modules directory. I wonder if this is like one of those instances where it won't work because I have this running on like Mac. This is trying to use a node module that was like not on Mac. I also don't get why this isn't throwing errors. Like you'd expect this to throw errors. Let me try this. No, that was... Let me try address of 0000. Nope. All right, let's just try a completely different port. I think we already tried this, but I just want to double check. I'm about to give up on this, y'all. This should be so easy. But for some reason... I'm not really sure what else to even like try doing. Okay, so I'm inside the same container that should be running this S3 thing. LSOF, SCF grep node. So it's running here. If I were to curl localhost 5000 and refused. Suck. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but that thing just isn't working now. Oh, it's supposed to be port 9000, not 5000. Which would probably make sense if I went over here. Okay, I'm just checking the wrong crap. Post 9000. Okay, we got something back there. But we're not getting anything in the parent container. So this thing is running in the container. Thank you for the follow. Philip. I read it. So it's running in the container. It's running on port 9000 inside the container. If I run curl from inside the container. The issue is my host machine isn't able to hit this port. I've tried two different ports, 9000 and 5000. Both of them don't seem to work. I'll go to localhost 9000 as well. Site cannot be reached. Let's go to the Git repo for this and see, like, does anyone else have information about why this isn't working on Docker? Hostname 0000 is what I'm doing. Well, they call it, let's see, is there a host name? I don't want the Docker one. You know, there's probably a pre-existing Docker container I could just use. I mean, this guy looks like he has one. I just don't know when it's been last updated. 5 years ago. So it's like, do I really want to use that one? It might be worth trying though at this point. Address, host IP to bind on, defaults to localhost. Okay. Crazy. No, I don't think Prisma does joins in SQL. So stupid. Why is this not working? I think it's your Docker compose port mapping. It's not binding to port 9000. Tried exposing port 9000. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this how you do it? I mean, someone else came in here and said you need to add expose. I tried doing that. It didn't do anything. Docker compose expose. Expose ports without publishing them to the host machine. They will only be accessible to linked services. So that's not what we want, because we want them exposed to the host machine. So I don't think we want expose. We want ports. What am I understanding? We tried doing that. Well, I think this is the host machine. I mean, I could try it. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. So like localhost 9001 should be the host port, and that should be mapping to 9000 inside the child container, but it's not. Docker service is running port 9000, but I can't access in browser. I mean, the context is just the entire directory. I have build dot, which will build the Docker file here, and should copy all the files. I mean, I could try doing without the copy and see what happens. I do have a volume mount here. I wonder if it's like seeing existing directories and just not volume mounting them. Bernhard, I don't think you have to specify the context. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it defaults to like something. Docker compose. Docker compose YAML build property. Bro, how is it so hard to find like the crazy thing is I do this on another project and it works perfectly fine. Like I'm literally doing the exact same thing in my icon generator. Docker compose. Icon S3. I'm using an existing, that's probably the issue. I'm using an existing. Maybe I should just use this guy's freaking container. Updated 3 years ago though. Okay, last thing I'm gonna try, and then I'll probably just end this stream because run out of ideas. Yeah, I don't think we need to use context because everything is a root directory in this case. Yeah, if I can get my Docker thing running. Okay, so the issue, I might just wrap up the stream. I'm kind of out of steam. The issue is I'm I have a script that runs a local service on HTTP. Okay. It should be on port 9000. I have a Docker compose, which is spinning up a container, which is mapping my local 9000 to the containers 9000. It runs this script, and then I should be able to load up my browser and go to the service. When I load up my browser and go to 9000, it's working now. So whoever told me to reboot Docker That was probably the issue. I also deleted all my containers. So it's working now. And I also added this, restart always. So I don't know. I changed a lot of things. Something broke it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete some stuff and see if I can get it to work with like less code. Yeah, that's probably a cache issue. You know what? I'm going to do a docker compose run s3 bucket. I think adding this address was the actual fix, but I think we ran around for 20 minutes trying to debug other things. Okay, now it's not working. Why is it not working now? Yeah, it's just okay. So when I do docker compose run and I run the individual thing, it doesn't work. When I run the entire docker compose up, is it even running the S3 thing? Bucket. Oh, it's right here. The heck. Okay, so when I run the individual thing, it just doesn't work, which is weird. Or maybe it's the second time I run it, it just stops working. Let me give it a second to reboot. Okay, it's running now. Okay, stop that. Let's get rid of the address. Run it again. Okay, yeah, you have to have the address. I don't know. There's so much stuff I don't know about Docker. But I'm going to wrap this up. Hope you guys enjoyed watching me fumble around with Docker today. At least I made some progress on this. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys had fun. I'm going to go ahead and drop off because I've been streaming for like 2.5 hours now. So have a good day. Happy coding.